September 10th, 1984. 5 robot lions roared onto American television screens and changed Saturday morning cartoons forever. For kids who rushed through breakfast to catch the latest episode, Voltron wasn't just a show, it was an event. But behind those combining lions and epic space battles lay a production history filled with happy accidents, technical innovations, and decisions that almost never happened. These are 15 wild facts you didn't know about Voltron from 1984. Number 15. Voltron only exists because of a shipping mistake. World Events Productions never intended to create Voltron as we know it. The company attended an international trade show in Cannes, France, where they selected 3 Japanese anime series to adapt for American audiences: Future Robot Daltanius, Lightspeed Electroid Albigus, and Armored Fleet Derugger 15. They were particularly interested in Daltanius, which featured a robot that combined with a lion. The concept seemed perfect for the American market. Giant robots were gaining traction, and the lion element added a distinctive visual hook. When Ted Koppler, president of World Events Productions, requested the master tapes from Toei Animation, he asked for the ones with the lion. Toei Animation's staff misunderstood which show Koppler meant. Instead of sending Daltanius, they grabbed tapes of Beast King Go Lion from their library and shipped those copies to the United States. Go Lion was a completely different series about 5 lion-shaped robots that combined into one massive warrior. The shows shared the lion theme, but were otherwise unrelated. When the tapes arrived at World Events Productions, someone noticed the error immediately. They had received the wrong show. Rather than send the tapes back and wait for the correct ones, Koppler's team decided to watch what they had received. As they screened the Go Lion footage, something unexpected happened. They realized this accidental selection was actually superior to what they had originally wanted. The 5 distinct lions, the clear color coding, the dramatic combination sequence. All of it worked better than they had imagined. The production quality impressed them. The action sequences thrilled them. Most importantly, they could envision how American audiences would respond to this particular show. That shipping mistake became one of the most successful animated franchises of the 1980s. If Toei had sent the correct tapes, Voltron, as millions remember, it would never have existed. Daltanius would have taken its place, and television history would have been entirely different. The irony is that Daltanius actually featured one of each type of robot that would appear across the planned Voltron trilogy: a lion, a vehicle, and a humanoid gladiator. But it's Go Lion's 5 lions that captured imaginations and created a phenomenon. Number 14. The show premiered to 65% of American households. When Voltron premiered on September 10th, 1984, it wasn't a gradual rollout. The show reached 65% of American households immediately through syndication. This massive reach was unprecedented for a new children's program. Within weeks, Voltron became a cultural phenomenon. Kids who had never heard of anime suddenly couldn't stop talking about the 5 lions that formed one giant robot. The show's instant success caught even its creators by surprise. World Events Productions had taken a gamble on Japanese animation at a time when such content was still relatively rare on American television. Shows like Speed Racer and Star Blazers had tested the waters, but Voltron's immediate widespread availability gave it an advantage those predecessors never enjoyed. By reaching nearly 2/3 of American homes on day one, Voltron established itself as a dominant force in children's programming before most competing shows even knew what hit them. Number 13. Voltron was one of the first TV shows broadcast in stereo. Around 1984, the Federal Communications Commission was still approving stereo broadcasting for television. Most programs continued using monaural sound, where all audio came through a single channel. World Events Productions anticipated the coming change and made a bold decision. They produced Voltron entirely in stereophonic sound, with audio split between 2 channels for a richer listening experience. This technical choice had unexpected consequences. Electronic stores demonstrating new stereo television sets needed programming to showcase the technology. Voltron became the go-to choice for salesmen on showroom floors across America. Customers shopping for stereo TVs would walk into stores and hear the epic Voltron theme blasting from the latest models. The show essentially served as a demo reel for an entire generation of television hardware. Parents who came in to buy a new TV often left having promised their kids they could watch Voltron on it. The stereo sound wasn't just a production choice. It was free advertising that expanded the show's audience every time someone went television shopping. Number 12, they couldn't translate Japanese, so they made everything up. When World Events Productions received the Go Lion footage from Japan, they faced an immediate problem. They had no way to translate the Japanese dialogue. The original scripts were in a language none of the American team could read or understand. Peter Keefe and Franklin Kofod, the executive producer and director, had to get creative. They watched the Japanese episodes without understanding a word and simply guessed at what was happening. Writer Jameson Brewer was brought in to create entirely new dialogue based on what the team surmised the plots might be. Characters were given new names, relationships were rewritten, and entire story elements were invented from scratch. The American Voltron shared animation with Go Lion, but told fundamentally different stories. What emerged was less a translation and more a completely new show that happened to use Japanese animation. This approach gave the creators freedom to craft narratives that worked for American audiences while working within the constraints of the existing footage. The inability to translate became the catalyst for creativity. Number 11. The show beat Transformers to American television by 1 week. September 1984 saw two giant robot franchises debut on American television within days of each other. Voltron premiered on September 10th. The Transformers premiered on September 17th. For 1 week, Voltron had the entire robot market to itself. That might not sound significant, but in the world of children's programming, 7 days of exclusivity can make an enormous difference. Both shows would dominate children's programming throughout the mid-80s, often competing directly for viewers and toy sales. The rivalry became legendary among kids who pledged allegiance to either combining lions or converting robots. Playground arguments erupted over which show was superior. Birthday party guests arrived wearing Voltron or Transformers shirts like team uniforms. Parents found themselves navigating requests for action figures from both franchises, trying to budget for the seemingly endless stream of robot toys their children demanded. But Voltron had the crucial advantage of arriving first. By the time Optimus Prime and Megatron began their war on Earth, millions of American children had already watched Keith shout the command to form Voltron. They had already memorized the combination sequence. They had already chosen their favorite lion and argued about which pilot was coolest. Voltron had established itself in young minds before Transformers even entered the competition. That 7-day head start helped establish Voltron as the top-rated syndicated children's show for 2 consecutive years. The show's immediate reach to 65% of households, combined with that week of being the only new giant robot show in town, created momentum that proved difficult for competitors to overcome. In the world of Saturday morning television, where children's attention spans were measured in minutes and loyalty could shift with the next commercial break, 1 week made all the difference. Number 10. Voltron used union voice actors when almost nobody else did. Most children's animated programming in 1984 used non-union voice talent to keep costs down. World Events Productions made the opposite choice. They hired Screen Actors Guild members for the Voltron cast and did something else unusual: ensemble recording. Instead of recording each actor separately and piecing their performances together later, the Voltron cast recorded together in the same room. According to director Franklin Kofod, using a SAG voice cast was virtually unheard of for children's programming at the time. The decision added to production costs, but resulted in more natural performances. When Neil Ross as Keith, Michael Bell as Lance, and B.J. Ward as Princess Allura recorded their scenes together, their timing and emotional responses played off each other authentically. The ensemble method created genuine chemistry that audiences could feel, even if they didn't consciously recognize why the dialogue felt more real than other cartoons. The cast included Peter Cullen, who would later voice Optimus Prime in Transformers, lending his distinctive talents to Voltron first as both narrator and Koran. Number 9. The original score was completely American. Despite using Japanese animation, Voltron's music came entirely from American composers. None of the original Go Lion score made it into the American version. Composer John Peterson created an entirely new soundtrack that would become iconic in its own right. The theme music, with its triumphant horns and driving rhythm, became instantly recognizable to an entire generation. The decision to compose original music rather than use or adapt the Japanese soundtrack gave Voltron a distinct sonic identity. American audiences heard music specifically designed to enhance the action and emotion of scenes as rewritten for the Western version. The score complemented the new dialogue and the stereo sound mixing, creating a unified audio experience that felt cohesive rather than cobbled together. The Voltron theme became so embedded in popular culture that decades later, people who haven't seen the show in 40 years can still hum the melody. That's the power of creating something new rather than simply translating what came before. Number 8. A character died in Japan but only got injured in America. American television standards in 1984 prohibited showing deaths in children's programming. This created problems when adapting Go Lion, where characters actually died. In the Japanese original, the pilot of the Blue Lion, Takashi Shirogane, died in combat during episode 6. His identical twin brother Ryu took over piloting duties for the rest of the series. American censors wouldn't allow this death to air. World Events Productions had to get creative. They created the character Sven, combining both Japanese characters into one person. When the episode came where Shirogane died in the original, Sven was instead severely wounded and sent away to recover on a hospital planet. Later, when Ryu appeared in the Japanese version, American audiences saw it as Sven returning after his recovery. The brothers were identical, so American viewers never noticed they were actually watching two different characters. The illusion worked perfectly. Kids watching in America had no idea their version of events differed so dramatically from what Japanese audiences had seen. The show maintained continuity through clever editing and creative storytelling that worked around American broadcasting restrictions. Number 7. Another character was digitally resurrected through stock footage. The character Nanny faced a similar fate to Sven, but the solution was even more technically inventive. In the original Go Lion, a character named Heise served as a maid and was fatally shot while protecting another character. Her death came late in the series. American standards again prohibited this death from airing. But by the time Heise died in the Japanese footage, she had appeared in numerous episodes. World Events Productions found themselves with later episodes where Heise should have been present but wasn't. Their solution was remarkably clever for 1984. They pulled stock footage from earlier episodes and digitally inserted Nanny into scenes that took place after her original death. Through careful editing, they made it appear she was still alive and present in later storylines, using footage from weeks or months earlier in the series. Modern audiences accustomed to digital effects might not appreciate how technically difficult and innovative this was for the time. The editors had to find appropriate reactions and movements from old episodes that fit new contexts, essentially creating a performance from archival material. It worked well enough that most viewers never questioned why they kept seeing the same angles of Nanny in later episodes. Number 6. They commissioned 20 brand new episodes from Japan. World Events Productions exhausted the original 72 Go Lion episodes faster than expected. The show's popularity demanded more content. Rather than canceling or moving to the vehicle Voltron full-time, WEP made an unprecedented decision. They hired Toei Animation to create 20 completely new episodes of Lion Voltron, not Go Lion, but actual American Voltron episodes. This almost never happens in animation. An American company paying a Japanese studio to animate more episodes of an adapted series was virtually unheard of. The new episodes were created specifically for the American market. meaning they had to be designed around American storytelling and broadcasting standards from the start. Ted Koppler estimated the entire process, from concept to completion, took just 9 months. These new episodes allowed Lion Voltron to maintain its dominance even after the original Japanese material ran out. The collaboration represented one of the earliest examples of what would become more common in later decades: true international co-productions in animation. But in 1984 and 85, it was revolutionary. Number 5. Vehicle Voltron failed so badly, it killed the third series. After exhausting Lion Voltron episodes, World Events Productions transitioned to Vehicle Voltron, adapted from Armored Fleet Derriger 15. Instead of 5 lions combining into one robot, 15 vehicles piloted by 15 different characters combined to form Voltron. The concept seemed promising on paper. In execution, it failed to connect with audiences. Kids found the vehicle-based Voltron less appealing than the lions. More critically, keeping track of 15 different characters proved overwhelming for the target audience. Where Lion Voltron had 5 distinct, memorable pilots, Vehicle Voltron had 3 teams of 5, and viewers struggled to distinguish or care about most of them. The ratings drop was significant enough to alter World Events Productions' plans entirely. They had already lined up Lightspeed Electroid Albegas to adapt as Gladiator Voltron, representing the middle universe in their planned 3 Voltron continuity. Matchbox had even produced toys for Gladiator Voltron, releasing figures of the 3 humanoid robots that would combine. But the poor reception of Vehicle Voltron convinced WEP to abandon Albegas entirely. The third series never aired in America, even though the toys sat on store shelves. World Events Productions went back to producing more Lion Voltron content instead. One failed spin-off killed another before it even had a chance. Number 4, over 1 million Voltron toys were recalled for lead paints. The Voltron toy line became one of the biggest successes of 1984 and 1985. Matchbox imported the die-cast metal figures from Japan's Poppy division, and they flew off store shelves faster than retailers could restock them. The toys were expensive by 1980s standards, ranging from $60 to $90 depending on the configuration. But kids begged their parents for them anyway. The ability to physically combine 5 lion robots into one Voltron figure was irresistible. Parents who remembered their own childhood toys made of cheap plastic found themselves impressed by the weight and quality of these die-cast metal lions. The toys felt substantial, built to last, worthy of the premium price tag. Then, disaster struck in November 1986. The Consumer Product Safety Commission issued an urgent announcement that sent panic through households across America. Matchbox Voltron toys manufactured in 1985 and 1986 contained paint with lead levels exceeding federal safety limits by dangerous margins. Lead paint poses serious health risks, particularly to children. Even small amounts of lead exposure can cause developmental problems, learning difficulties, and other lasting health issues. Children who put toys in their mouths faced even greater danger. The CPSC didn't issue recalls lightly, and this one carried real urgency. The recall affected over 1 million Voltron toys, making it one of the largest toy recalls the CPSC had monitored up to that point in history. Suddenly, the hottest toy of the previous 2 years became a potential health hazard sitting in children's bedrooms across the country. Parents who had spent significant money, sometimes equivalent to several weeks of groceries, on these toys now faced the difficult task of taking them away from devastated children. The beloved Voltron figures that had been Christmas and birthday centerpieces were now considered dangerous. Matchbox established a system for consumers to return the affected toys and receive refunds, but the process was complicated and frustrating. Parents had to prove purchase, fill out forms, and wait for reimbursement. Many families never bothered, either because they had lost receipts or because the bureaucratic hassle seemed overwhelming. The recalled Voltrons that were returned ended up in landfills, joining dozens of other toy brands that failed safety testing that year, including the Romper Room Animal Train. For kids who cherished their Voltron figures, who had saved allowance money or received them as special gifts, the recall was emotionally devastating. Some children hid their toys, hoping parents wouldn't notice or enforce the recall. For Matchbox, the recall marked the beginning of the end of their Voltron licensing. The company's reputation took a hit, and the costs associated with the recall were substantial. They would eventually lose the rights to produce Voltron toys, and future Voltron toy lines would come from different manufacturers who hopefully conducted more rigorous safety testing. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Voltron defended the universe on television, but his toy incarnation couldn't defend himself from lead paint violations. The recall became a cautionary tale in the toy industry about the importance of safety standards and the devastating consequences when corners are cut in manufacturing. Number 3. Voltron was named official defender of the Seoul Olympics. In one of the strangest promotional decisions of the 1980s, the Korean Olympic Committee designated Voltron as the official defender against alien attacks for the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul. This wasn't a joke or promotional stunt, it was an official announcement from the organizing committee. The decision reflected Voltron's enormous popularity in South Korea, where the show had become a cultural phenomenon. Korean audiences embraced the series with even more enthusiasm than American viewers. The Olympic Committee's tongue-in-cheek appointment acknowledged both Voltron's place in popular culture and the playful spirit of the games. Of course, no alien attacks materialized during the Seoul Olympics. Voltron's services as defender weren't required. But the designation became part of Olympic trivia, a weird footnote in both Voltron history and Olympic history. It also demonstrated how the franchise had become a global phenomenon, transcending its Japanese origins and American adaptation to resonate with audiences worldwide. A giant robot made from lion-shaped spaceships had achieved legitimate international recognition as a cultural icon. Number 2. The show cost $20 million to produce. In 1984, $20 million represented an enormous budget for a syndicated children's cartoon. Most animated programming worked with far less. World Events Productions invested heavily in Voltron, banking on the concept's appeal and the quality of production they could achieve with proper resources. The gamble paid off spectacularly. Voltron became the top-rated syndicated children's show for 2 consecutive years, generating revenue that dwarfed the initial investment. The stereo sound mixing, the union voice actors, the ensemble recording sessions, the editing work to make Japanese footage suitable for American broadcasts, all of it required money and expertise. The budget allowed for care and craftsmanship that showed in the final product. Voltron looked and sounded better than most of its competition, and audiences responded. The show's success proved that investing in quality children's programming could pay dividends. It also established World Events Productions as a major player in animation licensing and adaptation. That $20 million investment bought not just one successful show, but launched a franchise that would endure for decades, spawning sequels, reboots, and merchandise that would continue generating revenue long after the original series ended its run in November 1985. Number 1. Peter Cullen voiced both Voltron's narrator and Optimus Prime, the distinctive voice introducing each Voltron episode with, "From days of long ago, from uncharted regions of the universe, comes a legend," belonged to Peter Cullen. Cullen also voiced Koran and King Alfor throughout the series. His deep, authoritative voice gave the show gravitas and helped establish the epic scope of the Voltron universe. Just 1 week after Voltron premiered, Cullen began another voice acting job that would define his career. He auditioned for a new cartoon about robots that transformed into vehicles. The casting directors for Transformers needed someone who could voice Optimus Prime, the heroic leader of the Autobots. Cullen based his Optimus Prime voice on his older brother Larry, a Marine who had served in Vietnam. He described the character to himself as a hero and strong enough to be gentle. The combination of strength and compassion in his delivery made Optimus Prime one of the most beloved characters in animation history. Fans who grew up watching both Voltron and Transformers often don't realize the same person narrated one show and starred in the other. Peter Cullen's voice became the sound of heroism for an entire generation. His work on Voltron in September 1984 led directly to Transformers' work that would continue for decades, including the live-action films where he reprised the role of Optimus Prime. The week between September 10th and September 17th changed Cullen's life and created two enduring pieces of pop culture history. 40 years after its premiere, Voltron remains a touchstone for anyone who grew up in the 1980s. The show survived production accidents, translation impossibilities, broadcasting restrictions, and budget concerns to become something special. 5 robot lions combined into a giant robot, and that simple concept captured imaginations in a way that still resonates. The happy accident of a shipping mistake gave us Voltron. The innovative use of stereo sound made it a technical showcase. The creative problem-solving of its producers turned obstacles into opportunities. And the voice talents of people like Peter Cullen gave it a heart that transcended the simple premise. From humble beginnings built on misunderstanding and improvisation, Voltron became a phenomenon that shaped children's television. It paved the way for anime in America, proved that quality production values mattered even in Saturday morning cartoons, and created memories that endure decades later. The legacy continues through reboots, merchandise, and a devoted fan base that never forgot the thrill of watching those 5 lions come together and hearing the words, "And I'll form the head." If you enjoyed learning these wild facts about Voltron, please like and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on more stories from the shows that defined our childhoods.